Welcome to Stepping Stone to Excellence, the podcast where we explore life's events and experiences through a Christian worldview. Hi, my name is Skamo, and this particular podcast is on defining the Mafia problem in Africa's health crisis. Welcome to today's episode where we are going to be unpacking Africa's long-standing health crisis. Indeed, for decades, for as long as most Africans have lived, we have been aware, have experienced, have heard, have seen on TV, even if we were in the diaspora. We have heard the conversation of a repeated cycles of health emergencies, droughts, war, dependency on external aid, and it's been termed a crisis every single decade. And indeed, the question is, if something happens every single decade, we're not talking about just every beginning of a decade or at the end of a decade, but every single year within that decade, there is a continuous conversation on the concept of a crisis. Is it still a crisis, or what should we call it? We have a drama of dependency. Western aid has often been the default response, has been the go-to place, has been the answer for all of our problems. Yet it has rarely built sustainable systems. A reality that many in the health sector or even in the non-government NGO sector have to admit, and they have been admitting it, that for all the years and all the decades that we have been investing, we have not shown any results. If the non-governmental sector was any startup anywhere in the world, nobody would have continued investing into the system the way the world has done with the non-governmental sector in Africa, including the health sector. Colonial power worked with the chiefs, and we see that, according to history, nationalists followed, and still the health sector continued to have problems, but politics continued to move, and many of the nationalists became to represent the continuation of colonial power, elitism, and status of lifestyle. The same pattern of power and neglect continued, and we see the recognition of global leaders who have questioned this endless desire for aid, this urging for accountability that no one seems to respond to, and the continuation of justification of colonial burdens and colonial pain and slavery pain and all sorts of justification that states that we are suffering because of this past. Interesting. So, what is happening in the health service sector in Africa today? Well, for many people, it continues to represent a culture of mafia. Why? Too many meetings, not enough implementation, as if nobody is really interested in solving the problem. There's a power concentration in the established medical expert bureaucrats, making it nearly impossible for non-medical innovators to start hospitals or health ventures. The elitism of academia is set out as the only ones who could operate or run or fund a hospital. Regardless of your network, you must come back and meet us. And well, we then have the topping of all of this, the desire of the young generation of civil servants who desire to have the dignity of hard work, the dignity of decent work, the dignity of working in an environment that represents the basic standard, not even the global standard, just the basic standards. They continue to meet hindrance upon hindrance, especially in various governments. So they leave. They're tired. They're tired of telling their patients that we don't have salt, so we can't help you. They're tired of telling their patients we don't have this, so you have to go and buy it. We don't have medication. We don't have drips. We don't have this. We don't have the other. And they're tired of being told that you can't tell people that we don't have these things, but you're recommending that they would buy them because they may or may not be out of stock. They're tired of the gymnastics of eloquence that is required to tiptoe around the power playing that goes around. This has been generation after generation. Each generation seems to be complaining about the same thing. Is this still a crisis, or has it become a culture? Let's define the question of this crisis. Let's speak about that. Is Africa's health challenge truly a crisis, or has it become a chronic condition masked by a band-aid of solution? Is it a culture that we are calling a crisis when in fact it's a personality defect that requires therapy rather than any muscular assistant or therapy? Rich Africans today are seeking to invest in philanthropy and putting structures in place and investing into the health sector, according to African Business Review. That sounds really, really exciting, and it really is exciting to note that Africans suddenly, epiphany, after certain leaders across the world said enough is enough, have decided to invest in their continent. Shouldn't we have been having that culture? Does it require for us to be awoken because we will not have anyone else do it, so that we must do it? So what really is going to solve this systemic failure? What is the problem? Is it governance? Is it elitism? Is it failure of policy, failure of implementing policy, not even trying to implement the policy? What exactly is Africa's health story all about? Is it really the desire, the need to address the issues about disease? Or is this about power and accountability? It is my personal view. This is purely personal. No research, just an opinion, that it would be best, Africa would be best served to define what it means when it addresses the health issue in Africa. African media, journalists, African academia, distinguished persons in the medical field should define what they mean when they say Africa's health crisis. Because calling it a crisis every single year for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades really is diminishing the essence of the word. Until we move beyond the endless meetings and dependency, this drama will continue until we reframe our conversation and speak about the problem honestly, empower the new voices, and build systems that last. This will not be solved. Why? Because this is not just the problem of one thing. This is a problem of a culture, a worldview, a way of thinking, a way of having, of communicating, a way of living that we have declared a crisis for convenience. Much like the televangelist who uses African children on the television and requests donation in the name of African children. The question is, how much of that donation is really ever going to those children? And why must an entire group, an entire nation, a community, a continent be dehumanized by declaring crisis when things could actually be defined more clearly, more specifically, and therefore enable them to be addressed? Because a crisis should be solvable. A crisis must have an end. And this is my prayer, that the Lord will open the eyes of our understanding, that those who have the solution, those who have the knowledge, and those who have brainstormed the answers, who have not been given the opportunity to speak out, would speak out and use various platforms to speak out, so that their voices may also be amplified by those who will listen, that those who should listen will have the opportunity to hear those different voices. We need to go beyond a cycle. When something continues to exist, when something continues to be part of our lives, it has become a chronic condition or a systemic problem. We must then understand what it is. A crisis implies urgency and indeed short term. It cannot be as old as somebody who has been born, grew up, went to school, went to high school, went to university, graduated, got a job, got married, had a child, and the same thing continues to be called a crisis. This cannot be accepted in any terminology. We cannot accept it from journalists. We cannot accept it from policymakers. We can certainly not accept it from ourselves. It is institutionalized dysfunction. Endemic challenges, yes, we can call it that. We can even call it the status quo, the reality. This is how we live. This is how we function. It is a dysfunctional way of functioning. It is not a crisis. And I believe that once we have addressed it as such, we are then able to look at what is the systemic foundation, what is the grounding, and how has it been reinforced, what is it, what's giving it life, what is enabling it, what is strengthening it, how can we uproot it, where are the roots, where have they gone, is it a deep root like a gum tree that's gone all over the place, and that we actually need to burn for quite a distance as we search for the roots, because it has been such ingrained. We can only do that when we address things honestly, by defining them honestly. And as a believer, I believe that once something has been named, once it has been given a distinct name, and once we have the cognizance of it, not a crisis, but a systemic failure, status quo, this is dysfunctional living, we are able to then rethink how to address it. And I pray that God will open up the right people, those who may have been thinking about this, who have been silenced because there was a band-aid of non-governmental money like the USAID that was just swimming all over the place and did not help but actually enhance the dysfunction. whether those people are there and would like to speak out, that is what I'm praying for, that we are able to solve Africa's dysfunctional status quo in the health sector and in other areas where we continue to call them crisis when they are not. And I do pray that God give revelation, boldness, opportunity, wisdom, and audience to those who have the answers. I don't have the answers. I am not an expert in this field, but it's something that I really felt needed to be spoken of in my personal reflection as I share about my opinion. And I pray over this issue that God indeed enable us, because we are more than able as a people, as individuals. Of course, Africa is not a universal group of people. It's as somebody keeps reminding me, it's an insult to call someone an African, because we are so many different people. It's simply oversimplifying who we are, but we will use this as and possess it in a proactive way and recognize our diversity within that label, and recognize that in that diversity of culture, of language, and faith, we are capable of solving problems, because we are created by God, we are beloved, we are precious, we are blessed, we are gifted, and we are overcomers. So God bless you, and may you walk in excellence. Once we are able to name something, we can have authority over it.